We've all been introduced to a new face in a beloved video game franchise and not had them immediately click. But over time, many of these characters proved that there was way more to them than our first impressions. Because I'm Si for WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 video game characters better than everyone expected. Number 10, Elizabeth, BioShock Infinite. When it was revealed that players would spend most of BioShock Infinite retrieving and protecting a petite young woman by the name of Elizabeth, many fans groaned at the prospect of the game being one long, boring escort mission. Because really, who enjoys an escort mission? Psychopaths, that's who. But in a refreshing departure from the norm, the game swiftly tells you you don't need to protect Elizabeth in combat, she can take care of herself, and boy howdy does she. Elizabeth isn't merely a capable escort character, she's also tremendously useful in both combat and navigation, able to toss protagonist Booker weapons and health items and open portals in the environment. Ultimately, Elizabeth's such an unexpectedly brilliant NPC that she far surpasses Booker himself, who can't help but seem lackluster by comparison. All the same, for a character many presumed would get the same treatment as, say, MGS2's Emmerich or Resident Evil 4's Ashley Graham, it was so damn satisfying to see her be so useful. Speaking of Metal Gear Solid, Number 9, Sunny, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Introducing child characters into distinctly adult-skewing franchises can often be a recipe for disaster in films, TV, and video games. And so there was some justified concern when Metal Gear Solid 4 was announced to prominently feature a 7-year-old girl by the name of Sunny. The daughter of Olga Gurlukovich, Sunny is a child prodigy computer programmer held in the care of Otacon, who helps Naomi Hunter develop the Fox Alive virus, which is ultimately used to destroy the Patriot AIs. While the potential for a character like Sunny to be an obnoxiously precarious irritation rather than an organic addition to the franchise is high, Hideo Kojima clearly knew what he was doing here. For starters, Sunny thankfully isn't playable, nor does she get directly involved in the game's action, mostly sticking to the sidelines and being a cute comic relief sidekick whose biggest crime is that she can't fry a damn egg to save her life, at least at first. She's smart, doesn't continually need rescuing, and rather sweetly wants Snake to quit smoking. She perfectly completes Otacon and Snake's weird family, and really, there's nothing to dislike here. Number 8, Waluigi. There sure wasn't much fanfare for Waluigi when he was first introduced in Mario Tennis, given the understandable perception from many that he was nothing more than an unimaginative Wario sidekick, the Luigi to his Mario, if you like. Given that he was blatantly shoved into Mario Tennis to pad out the roster, there wasn't much expectation among the fandom that Waluigi would be sticking around. And yet, less than a quarter century later, he's appeared in more than 50 Mario games. While Waluigi's character development is thin at best, he's become something of a cult icon for the Mario brand due to his tendency for self-loathing, his unforgettable screams of wah, and the meme-worthy decision to let him do the D-Generation X crotch chop in Mario Strikers. You tell him, Waluigi, stick it to the man. There's a passionate quarter of the fanbase that even believes him to have surpassed Wario in appeal at this point, perhaps best evidenced by the vocal outrage when he was excluded from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. For a character that in this day and age we'd surely dismiss as AI created, it's impressive that Waluigi has actually had serious staying power in the cultural consciousness, even if to some degree it's because he's the black sheep. Number 7, Tails, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. When Sonic the Hedgehog 2 introduced Sonic's best bud, Tails, it seemed like a pretty blatant, even cynical attempt by Sega to give younger siblings something to do, while the firstborn child raced through the games as the main playable character. And so one couldn't really be blamed for having low expectations for Tails being anything more than a fleeting, temporary distraction for young kids. A playable backseat passenger who doesn't get to do much but orbit Sonic while providing periodic assists. But while Tails remains very much a sidekick to the main attraction that is Sonic, he's certainly a character who's gone the distance, remaining almost as present and recognisable throughout the franchise's many ups and downs as the Blue Blur himself. Tails isn't exactly a deep character, but his design, portrayal across a vast swath of media, and general stature as Sonic's ever-dependable best bud have endured him to the fandom for over 3 decades, which is likely more than anyone, even Sega, could have possibly expected. Number 6, Ichiban Kasuga, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Where beloved video game franchises are concerned, fans generally have a strong fear of change, and that's no truer than when the decision is made to sunset the original protagonist and replace them with a new hero. But that's precisely what RGG Studio did in Yakuza Like a Dragon, moving iconic ass-kicker Kazuma Kiryu into a supporting role, while lead duties were taken over by Ichiban Kasuga, who attempts to start a new life after spending 18 years in prison. Kiryu has been the beating heart of the Yakuza franchise since its inception, enough that the thought of replacing him seemed totally absurd to many, no matter the numerous attempts that RGG had made to retire him. Even the most optimistic of fans didn't expect Ichiban to live up to Kiryu's legacy, but by the end of his first outing, it was damn near impossible not to be charmed by Ichiban's relentless optimism, impeccable dress sense, and that awesome hair. Basically a golden retriever in human form, Ichiban's infectiously peppy personality proved to be a perfect contrast to Kiryu's stoicism, while fitting effortlessly into Yakuza's outrageously wacky tonal fabric. Recent sequel Infinite Wealth further confirmed Ichiban's popularity among the fandom, enough that the next mainline entry in the series will hopefully keep Kiryu out of the picture altogether. He certainly earned his retirement, and Ichiban has certainly earned to be the new face of the brand. Number 5. The Arbiter, Halo 2. Considering how massively anticipated Halo 2 was, many fans weren't thrilled about the fact that the campaign routinely ripped them away from Master Chief and forced them to play as a member of the Covenant elite instead, called the Arbiter. The Bungie and Microsoft kept this largely under wraps in the lead up to Halo's 2 release didn't help much, and while there was a lot of fan whining about it upon launch, by the time the game's story mode reached its admittedly abrupt conclusion, much of that frustration had fizzled away. To Bungie's credit, they took a major risk here and clearly took said risk seriously, developing the Arbiter as a meaningful and interesting character on the opposite side of the conflict from the Chief, allowing fans a necessary new viewpoint on the Covenant. And let's be honest, having Keith David provide his voice sure didn't hurt. Whilst he's never had the same degree of spotlight since, fans have relished seeing him reappear in both Halo 3 and Halo 5, confirming beyond doubt that he was far more than a lame duck attempt to do something different. Number 4. Leon S. Kennedy, Resident Evil 2. All these years removed from the original Resident Evil 2, it's easy to forget that the initial reaction to protagonist Leon S. Kennedy wasn't exactly glowing. To many, this wet around the ears Raccoon City cop seemed like a bit of a drip, at least compared to the insanely cool likes of Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine from the first game. In the original Resident Evil 2, Leon is more of a reactionary force, chasing other characters rather than driving the plot forward himself, and more often than not being totally ignored by everyone around him. However, this actually endeared him to fans. His softer and warmer personality ensured that he was ultimately far more an engaging character than Chris had been in Resident Evil 1, and the awesome RPD costume certainly didn't hurt matters either. Leon also got a serious style upgrade for the brilliant Resident Evil 4, which became the biggest game in the series, and as such, Leon arguably became the most popular character. Given the early concerns that Leon would basically be a poor substitute for Chris, he soared far beyond surely even Capcom's expectations. Number 3. Anna Williams, Tekken. While there's no denying that Nina Williams is one of Tekken's most iconic OG fighters, the fact that her sister Anna could only be unlocked by beating Nina's arcade mode made her seem undeniably second fiddle to her sister. If that wasn't enough, Nina's ending even had her slap Anna around the face during an argument over shoes of all things, and so it seemed plainly clear that Nina was the dominant sibling while Anna was a bit of a joke. But to be totally fair to Namco, from Tekken 2 onwards they worked hard to make Anna far more than a mere also-ran. Sure, she'll always be defined by her never-ending feud with her sister, but there's an argument to be made that Anna ultimately developed more of a personality through the later games, while Nina remained something of a one-note cold-blooded assassin archetype. But no matter which Williams you prefer, Anna has come a long way from the roster-padding copy-paste character she appeared to be in the original Tekken. Number 2. Cait Sith, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Cait Sith is certainly one of Final Fantasy VII's more polarising characters due to both his dubious effectiveness in combat and the fact that he's so damn extra. So he's a robotic cat sitting on top of a giant stuffed Moogle. Yeah, okay, fine. As such, many fans were anxious to see how he would be handled in the recent Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because updating the original game's most blatant gimmick character to modern audiences could have gone wrong in so many ways. But Rebirth basically delivered a best case scenario for Cait. set, as beyond being gorgeously rendered in cutting-edge visuals like everybody else, he's also brought to life with a wonderfully spirited vocal performance from Scottish actor Paul Tinto. Sure, his flip-flopping allegiance is still annoying, and that box-throwing level later in the game can get in the bin, but in moment-to-moment terms, Square Enix took the original's consensus worst party member and actually made him considerably more fun to be around, most of the time. And number 1, Trevor Philips, Grand Theft Auto 5. Though Grand Theft Auto 5 featured 3 playable protagonists, there's one who stole the lion's share of players' attention both pre- and post-release, and that's Trevor effing Philips. Trevor is nothing short of chaos incarnate, a hellraiser so cartoonishly psychopathic that players and press alike were concerned he could mark a real shark-jumping moment for the franchise. And while Trevor is certainly polarising to a point, he was generally received warmly by fans, who evidently appreciated Rockstar allowing players to take control of a character who encouraged them to indulge every last one of their edgelordiest desires. Trevor is basically a flesh and blood reflection of every GTA player's want to cause mayhem with impunity, and while Trev's intense personality had the easy potential to be incredibly grating over 50 hours of play, Rockstar got the tone just right. And yes, being able to swap to Michael or Franklin at a moment's notice provided players with a welcome buffer for his vile shenanigans if they ever actually needed it.